Hey everybody, welcome to Lessons with Troy. I'm Troy Meyer. Well, today's lesson I wanted to talk all about triads, right? A triad is a three-note chord. You have major triads, you have minor triads, you have diminished triads, and you have augmented triads. Now, I wanted to explain the way that I recently am starting to think about triads. It's a little different, right? I'm not thinking of it like a guitar player would, where you're strumming the chord or making a chord, strummy chord shape. I'm thinking of it more like from a one-string kind of way of thinking about that chord, kind of like an arpeggio, right? Where you're playing the triad, the chord, one note at a time, right? Just like I did on one string. And we're going to stay I'm just going to present this lesson in open D tuning, right? D, A, D, F sharp, A, D. And I'm just going to stay with the different D versions of these chords so that I can kind of explain this concept to you that I'm working with. And this concept is, it's going to sound kind of fancy, but it's stacked thirds, right? Triads and how stacking the two different kinds of thirds, a major third and a minor third, and the different combinations of all those, how that equals out to your major triads, your minor triads, your diminished, and your augmented. So I'm going to really try to break this down into a nice visual way, right, of thinking about this. So let's first talk about, before we get into the triads, let's first talk about intervals, right? A major third and a minor third. And let's just talk about how it literally looks on your lap steel, because that's the easiest way I can think of, is to look down and see how many frets are in between each note, right? An interval is the distance between two notes. So let's talk about a major third, how that looks. It looks like this. It'd be like open to your fourth fret. Now the distance there is 1, 2, 3, 4 frets, right? Not counting the open position. But I like to think of it as 2 frets and 2 frets. Now, a fancy kind of music theory term for 2 frets is called a whole step, the distance of 2 frets. The distance of 1 fret is called a half step. So I'll probably be referring to that in this lesson quite a bit. So basically, the interval of a major third is the distance of 2 whole steps, right? And that's what that interval sounds like there. Now a minor third sounds like this. And that's the distance of a whole step and then a half step. Okay, it's just kind of something you have to memorize, but all these 4 triads, major, minor, diminished, and augmented, like I said, they're going to be combinations of stacking either a major third or a minor third, any different combinations of those to create these different kinds of triads. So what I mean by stacking is for example, if you played a D major arpeggio, and let's just keep it all on one string so you can visually see how this looks. We got D, F sharp, and A. Those are the 3 notes that make up a D major chord, right? Now, if we break that down into the distance from the D to the F sharp and the F sharp to the A, okay, D to F sharp is 2 whole steps. That's a major third. Looks like this, right? That distance from there, right? That's 2 whole steps, or 1, 2, 3, 4 frets. Okay, and then the distance from the F sharp note to the A note, that's actually a minor third. That's going to be the distance of a whole step, 2 frets, and a half step. So from F sharp to A is 3 frets versus D to F sharp is 4 frets. So you just memorize that for a major triad. That's a major third, and then stacked on top of that major third interval is a minor third interval. Okay, now let's dive into all these 4 different triads, because it's really cool, because they're how they end up using these major third or minor third combinations to produce your different 4 types of triads, right? Okay, so major, keep in mind that's a happy chord. That's like our tuning, right? It's got a major third and a perfect fifth. It falls right within that key. Now, a minor triad is going to sound sad. Okay, it gives you this a sad kind of feeling. Now, like I said, we're only doing D triads. D major, D minor, D diminished, and D augmented. Okay, so a D minor triad is going to be D to F natural. Well, we start off right there. That's a minor third interval. Okay, D to F, that's a step and a half, right? That's that minor third interval. And I'd like to use open D so we can let that root note ring out. You can really get the sound of that interval, right? Now, still in a minor triad, the fifth is just like the fifth in a major triad. It's what's called the perfect fifth. So it's that same A note that was in the major triad. So that's a minor triad arpeggiated, meaning we're just playing it on one string, just one note at a time. Okay. Okay, so we got major, it's a major third with a minor third stacked. And then a minor triad is a minor third with a major third. What is that? Well, that's a mirror image of the major triad is a mirror image of the minor triad. Okay, so now if we get into diminished and augmented triads, that's going to be real interesting because they too have their own system of stacked thirds. Let's look at a diminished triad. A D diminished triad is going to be the note D, the notes D, F, and A flat, right? It has that flatted fifth. So a flatted third and a flatted fifth versus a major triad. Keep in mind, a major triad is a major third and a perfect fifth or major fifth. They call it perfect in music theory. And a minor triad has that minor third and still that perfect fifth. But the diminished triad, you flat the 5 and you flat the third, right? And we're just doing triads right now. We're not getting into the sevenths and all that kind of stuff. So we're keeping it fairly simple. Now let's look at these intervals, right? Are these going to be minor thirds or major thirds, or how are these made up? Well, a diminished triad is made up of a minor third, right? D to F is that step and a half. We know that's a minor third interval. And then F to A flat is another minor third. So a diminished triad is made up of 2 minor thirds. That gives us that sound. So that flatted fifth is what gives us the sound of that diminished sound versus the minor, like a D minor chord, still has that perfect fifth in it. There's a minor triad. Here's a diminished triad. And don't worry what I'm doing with my thumb. That's just to give you a droning kind of reference note so that you can hear. So a diminished triad has like a darker sound to it. Think, more horror movie music or something, versus a minor is just kind of more sad. It's not as sinister sounding. Okay, so let's review so far. Major triad, major third, and then go up. So go up a major third, and then go up a minor third. A minor triad, go up a minor third first, and then go up a major third. Diminished triad, go up a minor third, and then go up another minor third. Now, Okay, remember the major triad and the minor triad was kind of mirrored each other, right? Major third, major triad is a major third and a minor third. A minor triad is a minor third and then a major third. Well, a diminished versus an augmented triad. Remember, a diminished is two minor thirds, right? Two, like step and a half. So those two minor third intervals stacked on top of each other. Now, an augmented triad is actually going to be the opposite of that. It's going to be two major thirds stacked on top of each other. So remember, a major third is two whole steps, right? So check this out. Keep in mind, an augmented triad has a major third, and then it has a sharp 5. So not the A natural, but we go for an A sharp. But if we look at that, we see, oh, well, D to F sharp, that is going to be two whole steps. And then F sharp to A sharp, that's also going to be two whole steps, right? A major third with another major third stacked on top of each other. So I know this might be confusing to a lot of you, but I love finding patterns in all this. I love finding visual things that make sense and things that are mirrored shapes of each other and things like that. So major triad and a minor triad are how the thirds stack up are mirror image of each other. And then a diminished triad and an augmented triad. Diminished is all minor thirds. Augmented triad is all major thirds. So as you look down on your lap still, you can totally see this. Major, two whole steps, and then a step and a half. Minor, a step and a half, two whole steps. Diminished, a step and a half, and then another step and a half. Augmented, two whole steps, and then another two whole steps. So if we play this, keep in mind major's happy, minor's sad, diminished is kind of something darker than sad, suspenseful maybe, I don't know. And then augmented, what's that sound like? Kind of anxiety ridden. So diminished and augmented have a different kind of sadness to them. I don't know how to explain it, but more of a confused sadness, I guess, where it's not just sad, it's a little bit darker than sad. If that makes sense. And major sounds very stable and content. Major, minor. Diminished. Augmented. Now, if we add the octave root in there, let's see how that sounds. So we'll play the triad, and then I'll also end on that 12th fret there. Major. Minor. Diminished. augmented. So just to simplify things, if you think about it as far as how it goes in relation to a major chord, minor chord, you flat the third, keep the fifth. Diminished chord, you flat the third, flat the fifth. Augmented, you have a major third, but a sharp five within the, comparing it to, how it relates to the major chord or the major key there. But I do want you to really think, I know it might be kind of confusing, but think about those stacked third intervals and how they look and how the patterns mirror each other or do like diminished and augmented. 2 minor thirds is diminished, 2 major thirds is augmented. Just a neat little set of patterns that I just kind of saw, and I don't want to say I figured it out, but probably it's always been there, and I just came upon it and thought it made sense this time. So hope it makes sense to you, and hope you enjoyed the lesson. And we'll see you on the next one. Have a good one, guys. Take care. Bye.